Welcome to What's the Effie? Hello, everyone, and welcome to What the Effie. With me today, I have one of my very first guests and one of my favorites, Jasper Son. And Jasper is going to talk to us about his journey. And before we start, I'd like to say thank you, Jasper, for coming and on time.
Of course.
and For those of the few people in the audience that might not know you, could you please give us a little bit of your background? Just tell us, like your age, uh, where you're from. Are you working at W-2? Give us a little bit of understanding of who you are.
Of course. Yeah, so I turned 25 in about a couple of days. Effie and I have the same birthday, so that's super cool. And yes, I do have a W-2. I work in like the back office of like a bank in New York. I live in Brooklyn, and I've started real estate back in February 2022, and I've just been doing it since.
And tell us a little bit about, were you born in Brooklyn, or, what's,
So
where you
so
from?
it's a little long story. I was born in LA, but like I moved around a lot because of my dad's job. So I was like in LA, then I was in Korea, then I was in Taiwan, Michigan, and then now I'm here in New York.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if you were in Korea and Taiwan, you must have a few languages:
Yeah, I can speak three languages.
Korean, English, and
Chinese
Cantonese,
or Mandarin. Yeah.
Mandarin. Very nice. Very nice. Not bad for a person of the age of 25. And thank you. Thank you for that. And now, you could you take a moment to talk to us about the we're talking about challenges mostly
hmm
uh, in this podcast, and I'm interested in knowing, prior to starting in
hmm
real estate,
hmm
what would you say was your top two challenges that you faced in life?
In life,
Hmm.
I guess one of the biggest like challenges I faced in life was just wrapping my mind around the idea that I have to work a job. Because like before I started like real estate, all of this, the idea going in was I'm gonna work a 9 to 5, and then I'm literally going to work until I'm 65 and then retire. And then my challenge was finding a job that was quote unquote bearable until I was 65 years old. Yeah.
Oh my God,
So that was my biggest challenge coming in. And then just balancing that with stuff I like to do. That was just it.
that is so sad to think that a young person would be looking at such a daunting question. But most people do have to make that kind of decision.
Exactly.
So then, how did you approach solving that? Did you go to university to become something that was bearable? What did you do?
So, I mean, the whole default path was like when I was in high school, I wasn't even looking at like, oh, what am I going to do later down the line? It's the goal, the end goal at the time was go to college. And then once I got to college, it's like, oh, wow, there's more to this journey than college. And then so once that realization kicked in, I was like, okay, so now it's a job. And then it's like a never ending loop. Okay, so after this job, it's just a promotion. And then after a promotion, it's just like, so for me, that was like basically like it. But I didn't go to university for a specific occupation.
So did you graduate
Yeah.
in what?
In economics, I was going to be one of the finance guys.
And is that kind of what you're doing for the bank? Are you using
No,
your skills?
thank God, no, because that would have consumed my life. I'm kind of in the back office, like IT section of it. So I get to do some like mixed stuff like work from home and then go into the office. And so like I have a good schedule.
Interesting. Very nice. And you said that you had started in sub two, February 22 of
Uh,
2022.
So I started in sub two August. I started my real estate journey in February.
Oh, I see. So you started in real estate before you started in sub two.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What were you doing before you came to sub two, and you know, how did you get to sub two?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me was I was trying to find ways to like leave or like quote unquote escape the W-2 life. And so one of the things I looked at was real estate. And I read the book, what was it? Burr. It was the Burr Method book by David Green. And I started getting into it. I started like trying to learn about real estate. I tried to be like starting out buying a rental house 20% down, all of this. And I realized that that method isn't scalable once I try to explore that path. So
Did
once
you,
I
did
started,
you actually make a purchase?
no, so I didn't. So I went through the whole loan process. I talked to so many loan officers, agents, all this. And then turns out to find out it's like it's too much money where I could afford it, but I can only afford it once. So I have to repeat that process. And over this time that I want to escape the W-2, it would basically be impossible. So um, once I figured that out, I pivoted towards wholesaling, and I had a friend who was wholesaling, and he taught me just basically tips and tricks on how to generate leads. And I've just been generating leads like starting February.
Interesting. So were you working under him or with him? I mean, it's always nice when someone says, "Hey, I can show you how to do something." How did that? What did that look like?
So basically, he introduced me to another guy who was teaching people basically how he was generating leads for free. And so for me, the whole free part got into it. So I paid him some money to figure out how to like generate leads for free. And then ever since then, I was just like generating, see if anyone was looking to sell, and then looking to JV at the start.
Nice. So then that would have been your first mentorship?
Um, I wouldn't call it a mentorship. He was just teaching. He was just basically offering how to teach
Okay,
people how to generate leads.
got it. So you started doing that in around February, and did you
Mhm.
get any deals? What did it look like?
Yeah, so I was like calling every time I got a chance, I was calling on my cell phone using a Google Voice. Hey, reaching out, hey, are you looking to sell? Are you looking to sell? And then I was starting to like slowly but surely generate some leads. And that's when I came across Pace's Sunday service. And he had like Q&As. For some reason, like during that time where I really needed Q&As, he was hosting a lot of Q&As. And so I got to hop on to a lot of Sunday service and, ask a lot of questions and then eventually JV with Tevin to do my first deal.
Kevin? Kevin who?
Tevin Moxham.
Oh, Tevin.
Yes.
Nice. Oh, cool. So that was your first contact with Sub2 then? Like,
That was it. And
oh,
it was in May, yeah, when I first started talking to Pace.
cool. Cool. So then, where were you in the timeline at this point? Was this August or was it before?
Yeah, so I first talked to Pace in May, which is when I hopped onto this Q&A. And then after I closed my first deal, I was like, okay, I think, joining Sub2 is a great idea.
All right. But you didn't join until August.
No, no.
Okay. Did you do any deals before you actually joined? Did
Yeah,
you
so I closed my first deal, and then once I got the check, I used that check to pay for my Sub2.
Oh, that is so cool. That's nice. So you got your very first deal prior to coming into Sub 2
Hmm.
and really with just like an instruction manual from someone and then learning from the Q&As from Pace.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so you started in August and I'm interested in knowing a little bit about your journey within Sub 2.
Hmm.
So, could you talk to us a little bit about, what happened once you got into sub two? I'm assuming like it probably 99.999% of the people you were overwhelmed.
Yes.
So, did you know you wanted to do wholesale?
Yes. So I'm glad that like I've stayed focused on one path, which is wholesaling, because I was almost tempted to do gator lending at one point. Because you know how Pace does, like he works his magic, makes it seem so good, and like it is a great method, but it's not a great method if you do too many things at once. So I'm glad I stayed true to wholesaling, and then coming into it, I was going to wholesale, and I've just been wholesaling since.
Okay, so let's talk about that wholesale. I've been wholesaling ever since because a lot of people, it's interesting. The community has grown so much, and it's really fun when someone, makes a post and says, "Hi guys, I've been in for 15 minutes and I just did 3 deals," and everybody's like, "Yay!" And but most of us don't have that experience. So you started in August. Talk to us about the steps that you took. What did you do? Did you go and start your own wholesaling? How did you, because I know where you are now, and I think most people do also, but it's the journey to where you're going to be in a few minutes, so to speak, that I'm most interested in.
Exactly. So the very first thing I did was jump on the daily and nightly dials when I joined Sub 2, because the biggest thing that I wanted to do was get better at talking to sellers. And so I would hop on to the morning Zooms when I can, and I would hop on as soon as I got off work to the late night Zooms, and then I would just, call sellers live, get feedback, all that. And that's actually when Daniel reached out to me saying, "Hey, we might have a good opportunity. I know you're consistent. Do you want to talk about joining the team?" And so that's when I was like, I think that's a great idea. I think I want to learn from someone who's actually doing the business and, get a lot of value.
So when did Daniel first approach you?
I think that was in September. September.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And until then, from August to September, you were on the nightly dial and daily dials. Were you also making calls on your own like you had been before, like trying to
Hu-
get a deal?
100%. So I had so much time where like um I was able to do my own calls plus the morning and nightly dials.
Nice. Nice. Um, so you got practice and you were going after your own
Exactly.
deals. Did anything come through for you?
We had a couple leads. I locked up a couple, and then some I locked up too high. Some I was doing so great just at the start. But once I joined the team and got to understand more about wholesaling, like I've that's definitely decreased a lot more.
So then, when you joined the team, um, what did that look like?
Yeah.
Like,
So
I'm sorry, but a lot of people are new to this. So, joining a team could be like, oh, you're being put on a salary. This is a position, or it's a commission
mm,
and salary, or it's all commission, or, what did it look like? And,
so yeah.
what are
So
the
I think
hours, the expectations, that sort of thing.
So Daniel made it a very free environment because his whole purpose was he wanted to build an academy where like newer sub 2 students who like have a W-2 like me can't do this full time from the start was able to like just make the calls. So he had a very free schedule, and he would let you decide your own schedule. He would give you kind of like times like where he would prefer, but like as long as you're making the calls, he didn't really care. And so for me, I was able to do like since I work from home, I was able to call a lot and just really work on the team. And it's all commission based, which I personally think that makes sense. Like, yeah.
Why? Why does it make sense? How does it make sense?
Yeah, because I think you shouldn't view joining a team as like just like another job, but more like building out of your own business. No one's going to pay you for your time that you put in your business unless you actually put out results. And I think that should be the expectation going into an entrepreneurial team as well, because that's the whole purpose of entrepreneurship. You produce results and you get paid for them.
Got it. Got it. All right. And when you were doing this, how did you learn from other people? Like, Dan, of course, Daniel has the uh, nightly dial, so he's really well known. Is
Yeah.
that what you continue to do your learning?
Yes and no. So basically, Daniel had a lot of leads for me to work on. So I literally, as soon as I joined the team, I started calling. Like I started calling left and right. And actually, I think I got my, I think I got another deal within a week of joining Daniel's team.
You did?
Yeah, a week or two. Yeah, like we locked it up and then we closed it later. And but it was like a week or two after I first joined the team.
Wow, that is 5 minutes after I joined.
Yeah, that is actually.
I didn't hear about that one, to be honest. Um,
Yeah,
was it a big deal? Talk about that one. You must have been
it
excited.
was it wasn't a big deal. It was like a kind of base hit deal, but I was really surprised at how quickly the first deal was done. And that's just because, they had so many leads where they just didn't have the capacity to call them. And so that's where I came in. I made the calls and I was just able to do my thing, practice on actual leads, and then, just let them do what they need to do on the back end of things.
Okay, okay, and with the, I'm wondering, going back, would you have still joined Daniel's team?
I definitely think I would have. I definitely think I would have.
Why?
Because there's just so much that I've learned being on Daniel's and Samir's team, and so like learning from them has been great. Like I don't think I would have gotten as far as I could have just in terms of talking to sellers without Daniel and Samir.
Okay, and yeah, I should talk about Samir, of course, and his kitty cat. But
Yeah.
all right, so recently you got a deal that a lot of people were talking about. Could you
Oh,
share that with us?
yes. So that was a deal that we did a 47K assignment on. The biggest one yet so
What
far.
the Effie? You kidding me?
Actual what in the FE? When I heard the news from Daniel, because Daniel made it seem like all very serious, and like I was like, oh man, did we not get to wholesale this or like? Because there's a lot of times where you lock up deals and then it doesn't actually work out the way you think it does, or like the deal is skinnier than you think. And
Yeah.
so when Daniel told me we had an entire bidding war for the deal, I was like, what in the effing world?
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. 47,000 assignment is pretty cool.
Yeah.
How was there a bidding war? I mean, how did he do that? I hadn't
So
heard of such a thing.
yeah, so basically one of the dispo strategies on the team was putting the deal on investor list. And so we put it out at our regular like assignment. We still had it at a hefty assignment at 35,
Hmm.
but apparently people started reaching out left and right. And if someone was offering like 155, 100, like 60, and then 167. And it was like, wow, okay. And eventually we went with the highest and best offer.
What was the property like?
Um, it was in a decent condition. It just had a lot of trash within the property, and so we just had to get it locked up at a safe enough price for us.
Interesting. So the home was solid, but it just needed a good cleaning.
Yeah, a lot of cleaning because there's a lot of trash. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations on that. That's pretty cool, for sure. And with a little bit of the time that we have left, I'm interested in knowing what advice would you give to your past self if you could go back to, February of 2022, or even younger? What advice would you give to yourself, knowing what you know now?
So I wouldn't give any advice to myself before February 2022 because I don't believe I would have listened to that advice.
Why? Are you a knucklehead?
Yes, I think I was very stubborn in certain things, and I was stuck in a very like rigid mindset where you can't do entrepreneurship with a W-2. And the only people who were able to afford to do entrepreneurship were people who either risked it all or they had a lot of money. That was literally my mindset, which is a bad mindset to have. But to February 22 Jasper, I would say don't be afraid to invest a little to generate the leads. That's one of the things I would tell him because I was so focused on like generating free leads, it kind of almost slowed down my growth.
Got it. Yeah. Yep. And as Pace says, investing in your own um, growth also, not just the leads, but the the room that you are in. Okay. So I'm also curious if you'll give us a little bit. Where do you want to go? What is your ideal path?
Ideal path is I would want to build a wholesale business that generates consistent deals. And then I would, pick and choose deals that I would like to keep in my portfolio and then start building out my portfolio that way. And then start eventually like, buying and holding properties, a lot of them, and then eventually making my way into multifamily.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you want to build your own wholesale business and kind of take that model that you're under now and be the owner?
Yes, definitely be the owner and,
Are you
do
worried
my own
about
thing.
Daniel and Samir hearing this?
No, I'm not. They know this. Um, for me, it's like I want to provide them with enough value that even though I leave, it made sense for them to work for like me working for them was make sense.
Great, great. So you don't think they're going to be upset?
No, definitely not.
All right. So then, when you get your own business, is that how you're going to set it up? Mentor
Yes,
and
very similarly. Yeah.
very nice, very nice indeed. Well, any last words, my dear friend, who I share a birthday with, but a couple of years in between?
No, just follow what the Effie and start getting super value from it.
Oh, yes, I keep forgetting to say, please do hit like and
Subscribe.
subscribe and share.
Yes.
And people, Jasper is an awesome person, as you've already witnessed here. He has his IG handle there. Reach out to him if you would like to JV with him or do business or have a need, by all means. And until next week, we say, have a good week and what the F.
What the Effie.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.